Dragon Age lore, Dragon Age Origins lore, Dalish Elves. History of Dalish Elves. I was talking about them in previous video about what? About Brazilian forest, but there is also codex entry in Dragon Age Origins, specifically called Dalish Elves, and it is good to remember us that in Dragon Age world, first civilization was elvish civilization. We don't know how this civilization was created, what were these civilizations beginning, but the city of Arlatan was the most important part of this culture. And elves in those times were almost immortal and almost omnipotent. Not explicitly, we assume that other races were not born yet, were not yet created, or were not discovered yet. But later on, we also have informations that there was a great empire, Tevinter Empire, somewhere else in Thedas world, and this Tevinter Empire conquered Arlatan, destroyed it. We don't know how they destroyed it, but they evaporated it completely from the earth, and they enslaved elves. So this first elvish civilization, which spanned probably all Thedas continent, or maybe even whole world, crumbled because of the human mages from Tevinter Empire. But after the Tevinter Empire, because Tevinter Empire was something like Roman Empire, and this Roman Empire was finally destroyed by, or let's say not fully destroyed, but weakened seriously by the woman prophet Andrastre. And Andrastre created also Andastre, and Andastre also created a new religion, and this religion is now in Dragon Age Origins world the most potent, the biggest religion of this world, and elves were participating in Andastre revolution, in Andrastre fight with the empire, but nevertheless Andrastre was killed, and empire survived also, although it's very very much weaker than before. But the history of Dalish Elves is that the Arlatan slaves, or the slaves of Tevinter mages, which were mostly elves, helped humans and helped Andastre defeat the Tevinter Empire, and because of that, they were given the second homeland, the Dales. But unfortunately, later in time, Andrastre cult and Andrastre religion was like Christianity. It didn't tolerate, or like Christianity or Islam, it didn't tolerate other religions. And the elves had their own gods, so they didn't believe in the Maker and Andrastre as its bride and as its favorite. They had their own unique elven gods. And Chantry, the Chantry is like the church of the Andastre religion, was not pleased because of that, and they ordered an exalted march, something like a big crusade against the Dales, and the Dale empire was destroyed. But some of the elves, and many elves were like endangered, like slaves, or something like endangered servitude with the human in the human lands. So for example, in Dragon Age Origins we can play as Dalish Elves, this let's say wooden wild independent elf or as a city dweller, as a city elf, and most of these elves are servants to the aristocracy of different countries of Dragon Age Origins world. So, for example, Dragon Age Origins is a story about a country called Ferelden. But these Dalish elves, Dalish, we from Dragon Age Origins story, we don't know what happened with the Dales. Is it occupied by other country? Is it a part of? Because we have two major powers in Dragon Age Origins in Thedas continent, Tevinter Empire and also Orlesian Empire. We are not sure what happened with the Dalish terrain, with the Dalish land. I assume it is occupied by some human forces or ruled by some human leaders, but the Dales survived as tight-knit clans, tribes, wandering through different lands and different countries of Thedas. But unfortunately for them, they kept some of the lore of the Dales, but also many of its secrets, as well as Arlatan, so as well as earlier secrets, were destroyed, forgotten, abandoned, or maybe even despised. So, or assumed they were not important. So everything what they know about Dale is also fragments. So they have only fragments, fragmented books, part of the books, some papers, some codex, but not many things to rediscover their culture, even this later Dalish culture, for example, to build their third homeland in another part of the Thedas. And Dalish elves are considered generally by humans and by other elves living in cities as dangerous savages. So, most Dalish elves think that city dweller elves are complete apostates. They are completely abandoned and forgotten their ways, and they are almost not truly elves, except they will join Dalish way of life. So there is this. So there is a dispute, a beef, let's say, a blood feud between humans and Dalish elves, but also between Dalish elves and city dweller elves. And it's interesting because as Dalish elf we can, for example, see that that Dalish elves kept some of their magic only for them, because magic is now controlled by Circle of Magi and by the Chantry, because Andrastre said in their sermons that magic can serve humanity and humans, but they cannot control them. So mages are often at risk being possessed by the demons. So mages are almost fully controlled in Thedas by the Chantry, and the Chantry is like, let's say, a little bit like Church Inquisition. They control mages, and they hunt apostates, so mages who are out of the Circle of Magi, or they hunt blood mages who are very dangerous because they use blood magic to control other people and other humans. And let's say for the Chantry, all Dalish elves or all Dalish elves mages are like apostates because they live outside the Circle of Magi. But for the Circle of Magi, they are also strange mages because their magic is unknown to the Circle of Magi. So, for example, in I think in Awakening expansion to the Dragon Age Origins story, we can choose as a mage lore keeper, and we can use some magics reserved only to the elven mages. Because we can start our magi origin story as human or as elf, but the spells are general spells of the circle of magi. But with this specialization, lore keeper, we can use specific elven magic and tricks. So the story of the Dalish Elves is also interesting because, as I said, in this story origins, we discover this mirror, which is a mirror from the ancient times, and these mirrors were used in Arlatan to communicate and to other more complicated things. But because of the Tevinter Empire and their use of these mirrors to their corrupted blood magic, most of these mirrors are corrupted, and the one we found in the ruins is also corrupted. It tainted us as darkspawn blood contained. But in Dragon Age 2, it's interesting to see that Meryl, our friend from the origin story, is a companion. Is a fully developed companion in Dragon Age 2, and she somehow transported this mirror from Ferelden Forest to through sea to Free Marches and to Kirkwall, because the city when we playing in Dragon Age 2 is Kirkwall and its outskirts. But we see that Mirror somehow have this broken mirror, and her secret is that she is using blood magic as her main magic, and the Dalish Elves, they don't cast you or they don't shame you because of that, but they also will be very suspicious of you as a mage. So she is leaving her clan in Dragon Age 2, and we see that, because I didn't finish Dragon Age 2 so far, so we see that somehow her story and the story of this mirror is also important to, I think, to even to Dragon Age Inquisition, because we have also the Flemeth, who is in Dragon Age 2, and in Dragon Age Inquisition she's discovered as one of the goddess of elves, Mithal. So it's really, I would say that this story of elves, of elven origins, and of Dalish elves is very important, because, for example, when we starting Dragon Age Origins as a Dalish elf, we can see that there is Meryl with us. Then she somehow transported this mirror to Kirkwall in Dragon Age 2, and the story continues. And for example, elves are much less suspicious unto Ashla Belanar, as they called Flemeth, but I'm not sure if they are aware that she is a Mithal, one of the goddess of elves. I'm not so sure about their knowledge about that. So still, Dalish elves are like the second great civilization of elves. They still know something about their culture. So, for example, in Dragon Age Origins story, we have the last chronological expansion. It's Witch Hunt. It's our hound. Maybe not hound. Maybe trying to reconnect again with Morrigan. And we, from this expansion, for example, at the end of this expansion, we found out that Morrigan found one of the mirrors, Eluvian mirrors, which is still untamed and is unbroken, and she can teleport through it, and she will do that at the end of this expansion. but also we know about more about Dalish Elves lore. So this expansion is also important for someone who wants to understand Dalish Elf culture. We, for example, fight with Verethal, one of the creatures who was a servant of Dalish elves, but from unknown purposes we have a Dalish elf companion in our company, but still Verethal is attacking us and is a final, let's say, boss between meeting Morrigan and finishing the story. So Dalish elves are like second great civilization of elves. They somehow, let's say, they still believe in their ancient elven gods, but they didn't answer to them. So they are a little bit, it's a little bit awkward situation for the elves that their gods um, didn't respond or don't respond still to their prayers, and maybe it's because they were somehow unable to, because there is a story that Fenherel, Mischief, one of the gods, hidden them or captured them in some way of a trick, and these elven gods are kept in some place where they cannot leave, because there is also a story that they were fighting with titans or something like that. So the story is a little bit convoluted and a little bit complicated, but still, nevertheless, I would say that Dragon Age Origins specifically presents the world with almost perfect example of complicated but connected to each other and rational world. Still, I think that the lore of the Mass Effect is more impressive and even more complicated and more adult-like developed. Still, I would say Dragon Age Origins lore is a great asset of these games. Even though, for example, Dragon Age 2 was a failure to BioWare, I still think that from the point of the lore, of the codex and of the history, it developed it very well. It developed it maybe not very well, but still good, impressive and good. So even for that, you should play Dragon Age 2 to see what will happen with Flemeth, with Mythal, with Meryl, and with this ancient Eluvian mirror. So let me know in the comments what do you think about Dalish Elves, what we can say more about Dalish Elves story and their culture, their civilization, and so on, and how is it connected to Dragon Age Inquisition and Veilguard, because I still didn't play I still didn't play these games.